Did you see her face in the crowd? Now she's gone, no way of ever knowing. Don't cry for me, don't cry. Here's what she'd say. Don't cry for me, don't cry. Shopping in the hall, only empty spaces. Brand new kitchens, black and white. I feel the house is dying, and I'm inside. Now she's gone, no way of ever knowing. Don't cry for me, don't cry. Here's what she said. Don't cry for me, don't Every time I think of you, I just break down. I miss you more than I ever could Here's what she'd say. She said, don't cry. Don't cry for me, don't cry. Here's what she'd say. Don't cry for me, don't cry. Oh no, don't cry for me, don't cry. She said, don't
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another live stream Saturday. Had to think about what day it was there, but I hope you've had a good start to your weekend and that your week was a good one as well. Let me skip this advert immediately so we don't jump into that straight away. So, hello to you guys in the live chat room. Thank you for joining me on this Saturday night, and I'm going to give you guys an instant shout out. So, let me skip to the live chat rather than the top chat. And we have PN1123, Karen, Billy, Susan there, Charlie as well, Lucy Lou, I think that said, right, it's gone through the top of the screen. So I'll start down at the bottom. We've got Angela in there as well, and Tammy, Corilla, Joe's in there as well, Bob, and Ruth Ann, Diamond Girl, 1234. Hello, everyone. And let me get the names of my patrons up on screen because they make this all possible in the first place. And you know who you are, you guys that make this possible. And their names go across the bottom of the live streams on a Saturday and a Tuesday, 11 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, as always. So starting the live stream with Don't Cry, and everything that we get into in the live streams is requested over on Patreon. So thank you guys for requesting Don't Cry as the first song that we listened to, but also for the vote tonight, which is going to be between Parisian Walkways and Hotel California. So whichever one of those two songs you want to hear my version of later on in the live stream, then you can have a vote on that. And I think this is maybe the third, maybe, I'm not sure, live stream where we've had Parisian Walkways that has been losing out to lots of other songs. So we will see if Parisian Walkways wins tonight or not, or whether it's going to be defeated this time by Hotel California. So let's get organised on screen and see what we're aiming for tonight. We are looking at a target of 455 likes. So yeah, it's a big one, but if you guys can hit the thumbs up, that'll be very much appreciated. And if we do hit that target for tonight, it means we're going to be having Phil Jam number 263. So we'll bust out the guitar and see what happens. And let me get the likeometer up on screen. That is set up, and it's at 224, now 231, and that means what, 24, 224. That's what I'm going for. 224 more likes. That's just the number that popped up in my head, so we're going to go with that. And if it's wrong, then never mind. But if we get up to 455, that'd be great. If we get up to 255, that'll be great as well, because then it means it is only, I say only, but it means it's 200 more likes, and it's easy for me to work out. But I guess that's 212 now, so relatively easy to work out. So yeah, thumbs up would be great, even if you're watching this in the future on catch up. Every single thumbs up really does help the live stream to get out there and for the channel to grow on the whole. And I mean, we have been growing tonight, which is, well, growing tonight with the likes, but also growing just in general on the channel with everything going on and people subscribing and liking and doing all that cool stuff. So thank you guys for growing the likes tonight, but also growing the subscriber count just in general on the channel. So now I can see in, I don't know what this bit of hair is doing. So we've got a bit of hair defying gravity. Look at that. And there's nothing you can do about that. Look at it. It just, yeah. This is the problem. The stupid thing is that the amount of hold that my hair naturally has is, I mean, some kind of hair company to bottle it and use it, or give it as like a hairspray or something, because it just does what it does. So anyway, let's let's try to ignore that bit of hair at the back doing whatever it's doing. And I mean, that's always the case. It's random as to however my hair wants to fall. And for tonight, that bit of hair doesn't want to fall at all. It wants to just float in anti-gravity. Right, now, I can see that there have been donations, so thank you guys for those. But I must reiterate in every live stream that you don't have to donate. Just watching is great. So, yes, and that goes for analysis videos, requests, all that kind of stuff. You don't have to donate to ask for a video or a series of videos. If you are sending me a particular performance that you want me to look at different versions of, you can just email that through to requests@wingsofpegasus.com and it will make it through to me. So yeah, that's the point. You don't have to donate, but I know that some people can't resist donating, so I think it's important that those people know between 45 and 60% goes to YouTube through the super chat window. So that means that I would receive between 40 and 55% of each donation, and then through PayPal they take between 3 and 5%. So it means that I would receive between 95 and 97%. So yeah, I tell you what, I'm going to try and mess this up to try and get rid, because now that I've pointed it out, it's going to be impossible. See, no matter how I try and mess it into, well, that's a bit better. There we go. I've messed it into all the rest of the hair. So now the weight of the other hair is holding it down. We'll see how long that lasts for. But Anyway, it's just that it was starting to annoy me. Pointing out the side of my head all the time. Anyway, yeah, you don't have to donate, but I can see there have been donations so far, so thank you guys for all of those. I will jump into the super chat window to begin with, because Paul donated $5 in there, so thank you for that. And the message is, here we grow again, 502,000 subscribers, most excellent. Have fun tonight and spike the likes, all y'all. Peace, love, and rock. Catch crew for me tonight. So thank you for that, Paul. And now this is something that I know I haven't updated, and trying to find where it is to now do it live is very difficult. But, oh, that's the wrong number. Oh no, I've typed it in all incorrectly. Right, let's get this up on screen and pretend that that's what I typed the first time. I typed in accidentally 5,000 and 2,000. So, yeah, that would have made a lot of sense. So, yeah, 502,000 subscribers. Thank you, everyone, for subscribing, getting involved, and all of that cool stuff. We will keep on pushing forward and see where we end up. But certainly, 502,000 is great to be where we are. And for people to watch the videos, it doesn't really matter if no more people get involved, but we'll keep on pushing forward and see if more people start subscribing in the coming months and years, however long we are on this journey for. But I mean, as long as people are requesting videos, then I'll keep on making them. So let's get rid of that, and thank you for that, Paul. And Paul donated $2 again and said, catch up crew for me tonight. So thank you for that. I think Paul said that in the previous one as well. And Older Music Lover has donated $7. So thank you for that. And the message is, Phil, hope it is cool there. 101 here. Did your band ever have girls scream? Is there a guitar player or a guitar you would love to own? Take care. So thank you for that. And first of all, no, it wasn't really a kind of band that was like a boy band thing, so there weren't girls screaming or anything like that. I think generally it seems to be the case with heavier genres of music, and you know, my music is hard rock, melodic hard rock, that kind of thing. I think with the heavier genres, it's not really a girl screaming thing. Like, even though girls watch bands and girls came to watch, I mean, when I say girls, you know, women, because they wouldn't be able to get into the venue unless they're over 18, but guys and gals came to watch us, and it was more just cheering and applauding and just general stuff rather than screaming. Maybe screaming is something that's, I don't know, more relevant to a very young band, maybe with a very young fan base. But yeah, when you go and watch bands that are heavier, like metal bands, for example, I don't think I can't remember girls screaming at those kinds of performances, because it's a mix of guys and girls in the audience, and they're just listening in, you know, getting into the music, and some guys might go into a mosh pit or something like that. But I've never seen a mosh pit happen and girls be screaming at the same time. So I think it's like a bit of a genre thing, that maybe pop music and young kind of boy bands who might just be singing, that might be, I mean, obviously I'm talking about the current generation. I'm not talking about all the way back to the 60s, for example, and Beatlemania, where they were actually a band. So they were playing and singing at the same time. That then turned into more of, in the 80s and the 90s, I don't know, even though they're called a boy band, it wasn't really a band anymore. It was just guys that were singing. And sometimes those guys that were singing had just answered an advert in a paper that was put in there by management or by the record label, and they went through auditions to now be in the final 4 or the final 5 of this particular boy band, or like boy group is probably more accurate. And yeah, they would then just be the voices and tour the world, and they didn't even really have to have great voices because they just did a lot in the studio in order to get it to sound a particular way. And yeah, and that's just how things evolved. That the band thing seemed to stay in that description of being a boy band, but there weren't actually any instruments being played or anything like that. So yeah, it's a little bit weird. But yeah, I'm talking about the current generation. Obviously, back in the 60s and Beatlemania, girls were screaming so much that the technology didn't exist for them to be able to play shows. And I know there's loads of conspiracy theories as to why they stopped playing live. And I think a huge reason for me personally, and I know we're getting into talking about the Beatles now, but it's all to do with girls screaming. A huge part, I think, personally, obviously it's subjective, was that because the technology didn't exist, for them to be able to play at a volume where not only the audience could hear them, but that they could hear themselves, you got to think, well, going and playing on stage and not be able to hear anything you're doing, you could think, well, as a musician, you think, well, what's the point? What's the point in us playing? Because we perform because we enjoy playing our music, we like writing music, and that's what we love to do as musicians. But then if the sound is taken away from you and all you can hear is screaming, you think, well, yeah, what is the point in playing? Because we know what it's going to sound like. Screaming, we're not going to be able to hear what we're doing. But I mean, amazingly, and this is why they're such an amazing band, that even with all of that screaming going on, obviously if you're listening to it through the desk, you're going to be able to hear what's going through the microphones and, you know, coming out their amplifiers, because they've got, you know, mic right in front of those amplifiers, and it still sounded great. So the fact that they could do that, that's something that a lot of bands cannot do. Absolutely. They need to hear themselves clearly to get the right sound across. So yeah, and it's why I think the Beatles were such, because they were so huge and the girls were screaming so loudly, and when they played in front of, you know, tens of thousands of screaming girls and nothing could be heard, it made the technology move along. Like you know, people, businesses and companies that were creating amplification, they thought, right, well, we need to get louder here because there's now a demand for having something that is a lot louder than we can even produce. And this is why, you know, when you look back at festivals, especially, you know, in the late 60s, how those kinds of festivals and those that, you know, have stood the test of time, you know, like Woodstock, for example, having that festival, that was now, because of all of that technology that had been pushed, that you can now play outside to a lot of people who are gathered together, thousands of people, because the technology is starting to move along where you can play at such a volume that now everyone can hear it, and potentially thousands of people can hear it clearly, you know, even if they might be you know, cheering and screaming, making a lot of noise. So yeah, this is it, that I mean, it was amazing considering, 1969, for example, that the technology was now getting to the point where, oh, we can make the bands loud enough. And then obviously when you have the bands and the quality that was around at the time, and the talent and just the instrumental ability, all that kind of stuff, then, you know, you have a festival that has so many just amazing musicians, amazing players, and so different with everything that they did. But anyway, sidetracked there. But yeah, none of that. When I was playing, it was more people just kind of listening to the music and yeah, doing the cheering and not not crazily screaming. But thank you for that. And Timothy has donated $4.99. Thank you for that, and that is a straight up donation. And Barbara has donated $5. So thank you for that. And the message is, I need link. Want you to look at some. Take that concerts. I've come from US twice to see, and did I get what I paid for? Laugh out loud. So thank you for that. And yeah, requests at wingsofpegasus.com. If you want to send an email through there, that's good. And if you've got, and this is another thing that I do urge people to try to have a direction of what they are requesting, because when I do an analysis video, the videos, more often than not, the videos that I'm sent are the ones that are going to be in the video, so it means that I can answer that person's request. But if there isn't enough information there, then I will try and do what I can to get the information for the analysis video in order to, you know, prove one way or the other whatever's going on. And it'll be the same for that. So if there are a few Take That concerts, or, you know, maybe a particular song that you want me to look at, then I can do. And when you say, did I get what I paid for? It depends on what you think you were paying for. And this is probably different for everybody. What did you think you were going to see? Or what do you think they were going to be doing? Because if you think that they will be doing lip syncing and you pay for that and that's all fine, then, you know, that's that. If you pay for what you think is going to be a live gig, a totally live show, and then it's not, then yeah, obviously that's something that is going to contradict what you, well, maybe contradict what the reason that you're paying your money for tickets, you know, what you're paying for when you go to watch a live band, a live artist. And this is the other thing, that when you have particular artists, you know, bands that are performing live or they're out on tour, and somebody asks me to look at a particular song, like I said, I'll look into whatever they've sent me and determine, you know, what is going on, and it's always objective. With the artists and bands, the difficult thing is, I think as soon as you make the decision to not do things live, or at least, or even not do part of your show live, it means that if somebody's sending me a performance and I look into it and, you know, it is what it is, and we can see that, say for example, it is lip synced, it is mimed, then when you go and watch that show, you know, the artist might say, oh yeah, but I only lip sync this song and that song, but then I sing that song live, and then I lip sync to that song, but then I do this song live. And you think that the problem is, and I think this is probably why people are so confused about what they're listening to, because there's a particular line in it. I think personally, if you're going to mime or lip sync any of your songs during the show, then you're setting yourself up for a fall. Because, I mean, somebody might send me a song and ask what's going on, and I'll point out exactly what's going on. And if it happens to be one of the songs where you're not singing live, then I'm just going to say what it is. And I'm not making stuff up. So, you know, the artist will know in their show that they're not singing that live. But then, yeah, it now becomes so complicated for an artist, once that decision has been made, for that artist to then say, oh yeah, but I do that live and I do this live, and I only pretend in that one and this one and that one, and then I do that one live. So yeah, I'm not surprised that people don't really know what they're listening to, because yeah, it seems like loads of artists now are jumping on the lip syncing and, yeah, the miming, as we call it here, on that bandwagon. And we had that recently with, and for everybody that says about, you know, the analysis videos and the bands and artists that I feature, I do say that I look at everything that I'm requested to take a look at, including the Backstreet Boys, which, you know, not a band that, or I say a band, a vocal group, because they don't play instruments, but they're not a vocal group that I'm into, but it doesn't mean that I can't do an objective analysis of their performances, as I have done with lots of other bands. And again, you know, they're in that barrel with all these other bands and artists who have decided not to do it live. And yeah, there might be bits, and even in that song, I think there was one guy who was, or at least one section that sounded like it was live. And the reason I say one guy is because the vocal obviously changed to a different singer, and there's a slight bit of different phrasing on that particular vocal. And when I was listening to it, I thought, this sounds different to the rest of it, like as if somebody's actually choosing to sing this, albeit through auto-tune, but it just had that slightly different feel about it. And then as soon as that vocal finished, when we got into the chorus, we're back into the backing track and the pre-recorded vocals. But yeah, this is the problem, that I think you're always going to be on the losing side of that argument if you're having to try and justify where you do actually sing live, because you think, well, I think a lot of people would think, well, you should be doing it all live. If it's a live show and it's a live tour, it's not explained as being partly live tour. Everyone thinks that live means the whole thing. That they're not thinking that, you're going to do it a little bit live, and maybe you sing the first line of the first song for 10 seconds, and then the hour and a half after that is now not live. Because then you say, oh, well, I do sing that little bit. It's like, well, I think you're setting yourself up for a fall if you're misleading anyone at any time. So, yeah. But, like I've said, I do look at everything that I'm sent. And, I don't know the Backstreet Boys, and I don't really know their music. And even with bands that I do know, I do those as well. As painful as it may be to point some of these things out. But that's what doing objective analysis videos is all about. So anyway, thank you for that. And Joe has donated $1 as well. Thank you for that, Joe. And that's a straight up donation. Karen's donated $2. Thank you for that. And the message is, Phil, how's the weather by you affecting the hair? So at the moment, the temperature's gone down, so it's a much more manageable temperature now. So I'm not sure whether it affects the hair too much. Generally, when it starts getting hot, maybe it gets bigger by every degree, but now it's, maybe low 20s? So not too hot at all. So, quickly, Melody Rock says, so they keep live mics on just when they feel like singing. What's the point of having a live mic in the first place? And this is a really important reason for having live mics, is to interact with the crowd. And I know that a lot of people will say, but surely that is intentionally now trying to mislead people, that they've got live mics and they pretend to sing and then shout out between. And that's something that happened in the Backstreet Boys show that we were looking at, where they're not singing and they, it was a backing track. We pointed that out, that the vocals were matching perfectly. It's the same audio file, but then they'd shout into the microphone, now you sing. And they'd hold it out to the crowd. But they weren't singing in the first place. So you think, well, that could be seen as trying to mislead people, because by saying, now you sing, is maybe implying that they were singing, but they weren't singing. So, yeah. But this is it. I think with all of these shows that are lip-synced or mimed, they do have a live mic so that they can interact with the crowd in order to try and sell it that they are doing the live performance. The other problem that you have with that is that the mic then sounds totally different to the pre-recorded vocal, because obviously the pre-recorded vocal, they were either potentially using another mic, they might have done it in the studio where they're using a condenser mic like this, and it won't sound like the mic that they're using on the night to talk through. So you get this really weird break off, that when they're addressing everyone, it might be really low-endy and quite boomy. But then when they start singing, it now goes into this pristine sound that isn't related to anything, sound-wise or EQ-wise, to what they've just been saying. So, yeah, that's also a problem. But, yeah, I see that all the time with interacting with the crowd. And they're not singing, they're just putting those bits in between. But anyway, Older Music Lovers donated $7 again. Thank you for that. The message is, Jeremy asked if you have noticed more touring by artists now. Is it because streaming has killed LP sales? Thanks. So thank you for that. And I don't know. It's difficult, because I would say that with streaming, and yeah, this is going to bring me into a whole nother point that could go on for years of me explaining things. But sometimes the reason that, you know, when people have a kind of comment when they say about someone, and even, you know, trolls on the channel now and again, who, I mean, I maybe get this once a year, but they say, oh yeah, who are you? What have you ever done? You know, who have you been signed to? And they see having a record deal as a really, you know, as a positive thing. And I always mention about the fame illusion, that people are, I don't know, taken in by the fame side of it, not realizing what a record deal is. But anyway, yeah, when people say, oh, yeah, you know, what have you done? What have you ever achieved? What record deal have you signed? When you sign a record deal, you're now working for someone else. So I always want to be in control of what I'm doing, and you're signing over publishing rights as well, which you don't have to sign over. So when you are signed, you're not in control anymore. You're working for somebody else, and they can do whatever they want with you as an employee. And they can reduce your pay. They can, well, that's signed in the contract. They've already reduced your pay and taken your publishing rights. So it means that when they decide to put the music on Spotify, you're, as an artist, you know, in at the deep end, and you've got no option because you don't have a say in that. You say, well, no, I don't want to put it on Spotify because we're going to get 0.00001 of a pence per stream. I want to sell my music for 99 pence for each song because that's its value. That's what I believe it's worth, and that's how I need to work going forward to make it financially viable. If I'm selling, you know, even 10,000 songs at 0.00001 of a pence, I can't pay rent, so it doesn't make any sense. From that point of view, any financial sense. And this is the point, that the record label will be selling albums, will be selling singles, but they're going to be earning royalties on the songs when they're played on the radio and on TV and all these things where it's a passive income, and where copyright claims are made on YouTube and then they copyright claim the video and that revenue goes to the record label. It's not going to the artist if they're signed to the record label and they've signed over their publishing rights. So yeah, this is it. The bands now, they think, well, if we go on tour, and again, the record label are the ones that are going to decide how much the artist earn. So they say, right, we go on tour because they might make more, obviously, selling, and this is kind of flipping the whole thing on its head. If you go on tour and you maybe sell out a 5,000 seater venue, like maybe an arena, 5 to 10,000 people, and you're selling tickets for maybe, you know, £50 or £100, or sometimes, you know, £200 plus, and people are paying that money. Now there's a lot more money going into the pot, so you might be able to make a little bit more money, but you're still going to get a tiny percentage compared to the amount that's made by the record label. Obviously, in a perfect world, you know, to these people that say, oh, yeah, who have you ever been signed to? And it's not through lack of offers, it's through wanting to be in control and knowing that if you go on tour, imagine how much money you're going to make if you are getting all of the revenue for each ticket sale. And you can then afford to just charge people a sensible amount of money because you'll know exactly how much you need to earn in order to make it financially viable. So yeah, if you've got, you know, 1,000 people, you're buying a ticket for £25, that's £25,000 you're making from 1,000 people. So yeah, 10,000 people, what, £250,000? So you think, well, yeah, it's a lot better just to, you know, do everything yourself, and you might only need to, yeah, sell 1,000 tickets, and that might be your yearly income, or, you know, a good portion of it. So yeah, this is it, that it just becomes so much more manageable when you are doing it yourself, and you're not having to work for somebody else, and that's a huge part of it, and why I believe, yeah, if you can do it all yourself, if you're willing to put in the work, it is very much worth it. But yeah, as for bands going on tour, this is the other thing. If you're an employee of a record label, they can tell you how much you're going to tour, and you might say, well, actually, I don't think I can do 5 or 6 nights a week because the set is physically demanding. And well, there you've got the I've just thought, well, some artists or some record labels will say, well, just mime, lip sync, because it means that we can now sell out 5 or 6 nights a week. You can have maybe a night off, but if you're lip syncing, you don't even need a night off because you're not actually singing. And that's where you get into the whole artistic argument that some bands will say, well, no, we actually want to sing, and then they'll burn out their voice because the record label is still making them do it 6 nights in a row, and then that's the whole problem, that then you're at odds with the record label, and you've got that artistic problem of not actually wanting to do it. And then if you walk away from a record deal, financially, you're going to have to pay them back for however many thousands of pounds, but even hundreds of thousands of pounds that you might owe them in that particular record deal. But anyway, it's very complicated when you get into all of that. So I just think it's better to keep it simple. Anyway, thank you for that. And my vocal journey, 2112 has donated $5. Thank you for that in the messages. Congrats, Phil, on another 2,000 subscribers since last Saturday. I noticed you don't have a Les Paul. Do you like Gibson guitars? So thank you for that. And I mean, I don't have anything against Gibsons, but just throughout my life, I mean, I started playing Fender guitars, or had a Fender Strat. That was my first proper electric guitar. And I mean, from then, I say my first proper electric guitar, I'm not counting my Tanglewood Nevada. Sorry, Tanglewood fans. Like, if you knew what that guitar was, you'd know why I wasn't counting it. But that was my first electric guitar, which served its purpose. But I see a Fender Strat as like, a proper guitar, because it's one that, I'd seen Jimi Hendrix playing, and thought, that's like a proper guitar. My dad had a Fender Strat as well. So, with Gibsons, like, Les Pauls, for example, I'd seen them, but I guess what happened was I started off, Jimi Hendrix, and seeing Eric Clapton as well, and it's very much Fender Strat based, and then I made the transition over to blues players, and Gary Moore was in there, but I never kind of went down that Les Paul route. I made the hop straight over to hard rock, and like Eddie Van Halen, and starting to play in that hard rock kind of way, and liking techniques such as tapping and all that kind of stuff. And there weren't really players that were playing Gibsons that were doing a lot of tapping, and it just so happened that a lot of the players were playing Ibanez guitars, and they were tapping. So I started falling into that, and I got an Ibanez Geo, and I've got the Gem here, but I didn't buy that. That was sent to me. So I just didn't go down that path. Not that I've got anything against Gibson or Gibson guitars or Les Pauls, anything like that. It just so happens to be where my playing went. Just down that Fender route, and then over to Ibanez. But anyway, thank you for that. And there have been some donations over on PayPal as well. So thank you guys for these. And let me just give it a quick plug of maybe we'll talk about merchandise, talking about plugs, but a quick plug of the thumbs up. If you can hit that thumbs up, that'd be very much appreciated, because we are aiming for 455 likes tonight. Then we will bust out what I can see is going to be the Strat a little bit later on, and we've got, what's that, 89 more likes, I think. Quick bit of maths. So if you could hit that thumbs up, that would be great. And then we'll have a jam later on. And the regular viewers of my live streams will know that the jams are fully live. So whatever happens. And things can happen and have happened. So I always think of a quote from an F1 commentator called Murray Walker. And he said, in F1, in F1, anything can happen. And it very nearly did. When he was talking about a particular incident that almost, a driver almost went off the track or something. So yeah, just a bit of a funny quote. But this is it. Yeah, it's all live, and even now on the live stream, anything can happen. And yeah, it very nearly did, or maybe it will. By definition, this is anything, so anything is happening. Anyway, right, let's jump into the donations over on PayPal. And I want to make sure that I don't miss any here, because Bryony's donated £5. Thank you for that. And the message is, hi Phil, Dashery merch question. Will you be adding the Phil Toon mug? Ruddy heck, I need a guffing drink. And other mugs and tumblers, etc. I recently purchased a t-shirt and hoodie through Dashery, which came within 3 days. Result. So thank you for that. And yeah, this is the reason that I've moved over from Spring to now Dashery, and you can find the link. Oh, did I change it? I know that on the last live stream I changed it to the Dashery store. Hang on, right, I'm going to get rid of, because the lycometer goes all wrong because I have to access this screen in order to change the link. And there it is. Yeah, dashery.com. It is there. I was just checking that in the description below. So yeah, let's get the lycometer back on screen. You can head over there, click on, there might be a tray underneath this video, but there's a link in the description below to go over to the Dashery store, which is where you can order the new merch, and it's going to get delivered within, yeah, hopefully a few days, or yeah, certainly quicker than about 6 months or something crazy that was happening before with Spring. But thank you for letting me know. And yeah, as for the mugs, the thing is, the designs for the mugs, I did all those, and generally, I mean, doing that was something that I had to make the decision to do it. So it means that I'm dedicating my time over maybe a day or 2 days to get the image, make it high res, and do the typing on it and get all the right dimensions so that it can be put on the mug. So it was, yeah, a few days kind of putting that all together. And the problem is that I don't know where that all is, like the design for it. It'll be somewhere, hopefully, so I'd have to find it first. Now, the problem with finding stuff is finding stuff takes ages, because you have to physically try every single hard drive. And yeah, look, I know that it's not on Dropbox because I already had a quick search on there. So yeah, I'm going to try and find the designs, because if I can't find them, it means then going back to cutting out the image from a cartoon and making it high res, making it into a vector image so that it can be made high res in the first place, and yeah, going through that whole process, which takes a bit of a while. But I will do my best to try and get the products as similar as they were before over on Spring. But yeah, the problem with Spring is that there's no point in having merch over there if somebody orders it and it's not going to be delivered for another 7 or 8 months. So yeah, I've got so many things on my to-do list, which also includes a video for Amelia, my album track that we never play on the live streams because there's no video to go with it. So that's on my to-do list as well. So yeah, but I'll try and kind of get into that merch when I can. So there are already items there over on the Dashery store, like t-shirts and hoodies and stuff, but I think there's also mugs that have got the logo on there, but not the Phil Toon logo yet, or Phil Toon mug. But I shall try and sort that out. Now, we've had another donation, and this is from Nicole, who donated £10. Thank you for that, Nicole. The message is, hello Phil, hope all is okay for you. I have a request. I watch your live stream with subtitles. French, it's more easy, but for some reason, or for some time, it's no longer displayed. Can you try to put the subtitles back on? That would be great. Thank you, Phil. So thank you for that. And I mean, I haven't changed anything on the live streams. I don't change any of the settings. I haven't changed anything on the subtitle settings. So I wouldn't know how to make the French subtitles appear. So yeah, I don't really have an answer to that, unfortunately. But thank you for the donation, and I hope that they start working again in the future. That there should be an option somewhere, if there was an option there before. So yeah, thank you for that, Nicole. And oh, I think I clicked on the wrong button. Let's. Oh wow. Okay, right. So this is now doing something very weird. When I'm skipping from one email to the next, normally it takes me to the next email. But now, all of a sudden, clicking on that button is taking me to the inbox rather than allowing me to skip from one, and it keeps on doing it. So yeah, this is very weird. So I literally can't get to the next. I have to try and find the next email manually in the list. Is it? Okay, right. So let me try and find Nicole's one. Is there? I'm trying to memorize it in the list of emails. Right. The next one that came through was from Steve, and Steve donated £5. Thank you for that, Steve. And the message is, what are the differences between common fretboard woods like ebony, rosewood, and maple? Which one do you prefer? So thank you for that. And I'll try and keep this answer short. So, most of my guitars have had a rosewood neck, so that's what I think I'm kind of most used to playing. I haven't had an ebony neck before. I've got a maple neck on my Fender Strat, and that was the Fender Strat that I thought or considered earlier on my first proper guitar. So, yeah, as for rosewood and maple, I guess I lean more towards rosewood, but that's just because of the amount of guitars that I have that have rosewood necks, and I tend to be playing on a rosewood neck more often than not. So it's just kind of what I got used to. But I mean, maple neck is still fine, and I mean generally, I think with playability, the rosewood neck I find is a little bit grainier. You might maybe get a little bit more friction behind the string. So for bends and being able to control bends, or at least giving you that kinesthetic feedback with bends. I'm not saying that you don't get that with a maple neck, but for me, I feel like there's just a little bit more in a rosewood neck that kind of grips into it. And obviously, it's down to your style of playing, whether you like that, whether you want a bit more resistance or not. But with a maple neck, my dad had a Fender Strat, and still has a Fender Strat, that has, I think, the satin finish, which is like, it makes it really, slippery, like the opposite of what I'm talking about with a rosewood neck, of not having that grip there. So it means that, you can slide up and down really easily, and of course, the bends are easier because you don't get as much friction behind the string. But for me, it's kind of too slidey. I don't like that overly slidey feel. I like to have a bit of resistance there. So yeah, I mean, there's so much detail to it when you're playing guitar, and you're playing and you're getting the feel of the neck there. So yeah, my preference is rosewood, and I know that people will also say about the sound and the differences between rosewood having a more middly, warmer sound, and maple being a little bit brighter. So yeah, it all depends what you're into, but I would always tend to go for the playability. I don't think that especially once I put it through my amp and I've got my distortion on, all that kind of stuff, I don't think for me changing the neck of the guitar is going to affect the overall tone that noticeably when you're talking about not going through the amplifier clean and not being able to really appreciate the subtlety of the different sound in pickup, but also just the sound of the guitar and how it resonates in itself and in of itself. But anyway, rosewood is what I'd go for, but I haven't got anything against maple necks or ebony, but it's just, yeah, I've only ever played rosewood and maple necks. So thank you for that, Steve. And Karen has donated £6.22, and the button actually worked that time. I don't understand what's going on tonight. So the message is, hi Phil, congratulations on hitting 502,000 subscribers. I'm enjoying watching your channel grow. For some reason you remind me of this Carl Jung quote. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. Do you find the quote applicable in any way? Sincere thanks for all you do and for being you, Karen. So thank you for that. And I guess the quote is saying, don't let what happens to you shape you. Be who you are, and you shape the world rather than let it shape you. So at least that's what I take from it. So I would say yes, be yourself, and yeah, make the world what you want it to be, ideally a better place. So anything you can add to make that happen is got to be a good thing. And yeah, I mean, life is hard. You know, as Rocky says, it'll, you know, kick you to your knees if you let it, and it'll keep you there. So you got to keep on fighting. And it's not about how hard you can get hit. It's about, no, it's not how hard you get hit. It's how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. So there you go, some Rocky quotes. Just because we're talking about quotes. Right. Thank you, Lydia, as well, who has donated £12.43. And the message is, hello, Phil. Congratulations on the 500 plus members. Here is a little belated gift to thank you for your hard work and help this wonderful channel to keep growing more and more. Onwards to the million subscribers. High five from France, Lydia. Alias Purple Velvet. So thank you for that. Yeah, probably quite a while to go until a million, but you never know. You know, who knows that for some reason it might be reported on somewhere that I, you know, the channel and the stuff that I do, because I am, even though I know that people do link me to other videos and people who, I mean, people in the industry who mention my channel, which is great, and people that I respect who watch my videos as well. So yeah, I mean, that's all great, but I haven't really had any national exposure or anything like that. It's just very much word of mouth, I think, throughout the music industry and music fans and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's great that the channel gets out there quite a lot. And yeah, we'll see what happens in the future. And I was thinking about doing, I've just reminded myself of a troll thing that I was thinking about going into Troll Corner for tonight, when talking about the people that have spoken about my channel and watch my channel. But maybe we'll jump into that in a second. So thank you for that, Lydia. Lynn has donated £75. Thank you for that, Lynn. And the message is, Phil, the season finale of Secret of Skinwalker Ranch drops in the US after the live stream Tuesday. Things are getting very, very interesting in the Mesa. So thank you for that. I'm going to have to wait for I don't know how many months more until we get it here in the UK. But yeah, that's one of the things that I do watch. I don't watch many things, but that's one of the series that I do make time for. I say make time for. I have it on in the background when I'm doing emails and things, but nonetheless, I still watch it. So thank you for that, Lynn. Yeah, looking forward to that. And Gideon has donated £5. So thank you for that. And the message is, thank you for the objective and entertaining videos. No problem. Thank you for watching. And Sue's donated £20. Thank you for that, Sue. And the message is, my Wings of Pegasus Dashery t-shirts arrived in less than a week. Great quality, awesome colours and styles. Commercial over, with a laughing face. Happy Labour Day weekend to those who get Monday off from work. So thank you for that, Sue, and for the positive review on the Dashery store merch. I think it was the right choice, making the move over. Yeah, but I've still got to kind of organise everything over there. But t-shirts and hoodies and things are over there already. So thank you for that, Sue. Right, It's almost midnight here, and we're looking for another 41 more people to hit the thumbs up to have a jam at the end of tonight's live stream. But, oh man, we're going to run out of time because I'm quickly going to jump into Troll Corner because I want to mention it while I remember it, and we don't have many Troll Corners, so let's do it quickly. I'll see you guys in a second. Rock! So, you guys are aware on the channel, long-time viewers will know that I've had interviews on this channel with singers and musicians, guitarists as well, who are, of course, musicians but instrumentalists, who have watched my channel, and, I've chatted to them and it's been great, and you guys will know the people that I've spoken with, Jeff Scott Soto and Shirley Lewis and Steve Stevens, and yes, so many, and Buck Darmo's been on the channel multiple times. So there are a lot of people that watch the channel and know what I do, and lots of other channels do watch and message me, which is great. And Steve Lukather mentioned my channel in his interview with Rick Beato, and Rick knows what I does as well, and it's great for the channel to be out there, for people to know what I do. And in that kind of community, I think that if you were doing something that was at all questionable, and this is going to bring me to the Troll Corner, if you were doing something where people who know their stuff watch the channel and know about the channel and support the channel, they wouldn't do that if what I was doing was inaccurate or unreliable, or an opinion, or hearsay, or me not doing something correctly and pointing out something that isn't true. If that were the case, then those kinds of people that I've mentioned would know, because they're professionals. They know what I'm doing. So this is something that happens is, now that the channel is, relatively large, over 500,000 subscribers, there are other channels, and I don't keep up to date with all of this, but there are other channels that do videos on my videos. And I think a lot of them are just jumping on the algorithm because they know that, I've got a lot of subscribers and get a lot of views. So they try and kind of piggyback on that and, try and do a video that is, controversial, or saying that what I'm doing is either wrong or not true. But then in their video, they're trying to get people to watch their video because it's the whole clickbait thing. So then people will watch it, and then lo and behold, in their video they'll say that what I'm doing is actually correct and true. So it's all a bit silly. But anyway, there's a comment on one of these videos, and it said, oh, his channel is a joke because his analysis videos are fundamentally flawed, and it's not accurate at all, and this and that and the other. And the person is almost doing really long message, almost like they are talking from a place of authority, that they know what they're talking about. And I've mentioned about those people that watch the channel, that they wouldn't watch if what this person was saying was true. But anyway, he then went on to cite an analysis video where he said, and in this analysis he was so far off the mark because he was comparing two separate vocals. It wasn't even the same vocal he was looking at. And guess what? In that analysis video, the whole point of the video was that we were looking at two different performances that weren't the same audio and weren't the same vocal. That was the whole point. So this person, I don't know what they're doing when they're watching my video. Obviously they're not listening, and they're not taking in what I'm saying, that these are two separate vocals. It's not the same audio file that we're looking at. So this is it, that you'll get some people who just don't get it. And unfortunately, I've even had people who have said that they are producers. Not that I've heard of them as a producer themselves. And there are producers like Warren Hewitt, who watches the channel as well, who are very, very well known producers, and he knows lots of other producers and artists. But anyway, people that say that they are producers and they still don't get what I'm doing. They don't understand how the data is absolute proof of what I'm saying about. And another producer, I'll get out of Troll Corner in a second, I promise, but another producer who said he's recorded, loads of people in the past in the studio, and some singers can repeat the same thing twice because they're just that good. And again, I think that there seems to be, if that is a producer, there's a level of producer that don't understand what double tracking means. The reason that you can double track is because the singer isn't producing the same thing twice. That's the whole point. So I think maybe once you explain it to a producer in that way who doesn't understand it, they might think, oh yeah, I double track vocals and the audio doesn't clip and it doesn't distort because it has to be a different file. There has to be a different waveform for that not to clash. So I'm hoping that, in some way I can explain it to these producers that they might, I don't know if they're producers actually, in real life, they might just be saying it. But if they are, I think you need to understand this stuff because your job is sound. So you need to understand what I'm presenting on screen so that the producers that do know what I'm talking about, you can make yourself, unfortunately, look a little bit silly when you say, I'm a producer and I've worked with singers that can repeat the same thing twice. A producer who knows what they're talking about will say, that's absolutely false. No singer could do that. And no singer's ever been able to do that. And no singer ever will be able to do that. Unless you're playing back the same audio file. Anyway, let's get out of Troll Corner. That's enough Troll Corner for tonight. See you guys in a second. Rock. And we are going to be jumping into, it looks like Parisian Walkways has won out for tonight, which is great. This is going to be my version of the Gary Moore Classic, and I am just looking into the Patreon window. Where is it? Right. 5 minutes and 40 seconds, I believe, is going to be the backing track for tonight. Field Jam number 263. If we make the target, we're looking for another 14 more people. If you could hit the thumbs up, that would be great. And then we'll bust out the guitar after this cover video. And it's my version of Parisian Walkways. I hope you guys enjoy it, and I'll see you after. Rock!
I remember Paris, 49, the Champs-Élysées, Saint-Michel and old Beaujolais wine. And I recall that you were mine on those Parisian days.
And there we have it. That was my version of Parisian Walkways by Gary Moore. Hope you enjoyed that one. Now, I'll just quickly, I know I've got a couple of, we are going to be having the Field Jam. Thank you guys for hitting the thumbs up and getting us to the likes goal. Something to mention is, I know that on YouTube, there have been, I mentioned this actually in the last live stream about AI and how YouTube is now applying AI, like upscaling videos, and they're just doing this now. So it means that videos are looking like AI when they're not. And somebody commented saying that, I think Danny Sapko, who we had a chat with on the channel. I don't know how many months ago that was, but anyway, the person said that he was mentioning about this, and Rick Beato as well. His shorts videos have been upscaled with AI, without permission. There are lots of channels. I think it's just a general thing now, because I think this person said that Danny's done a video featuring one of my shorts to show that it's applying AI to my shorts videos. So yeah, and I don't use AI, and as you guys know, I don't want to be involved with it at all, giving my face and voice and all the stuff that they want to train it on. I've said no, I don't agree with that. And actually on YouTube, and this is something that I was told about recently, but I have been unselected from it for since it became an option, where there's a little box in the YouTube settings where you can uncheck it if you don't want AI to use all of your information to be trained on. So I'm not giving it any of my information, but I can't stop YouTube from AI upscaling my videos or my shorts, because that's now what it's doing. So yeah, it's a bit of a shame. I haven't seen it do that, but it must be doing it on some of my videos for Danny to see it, and for Rick's videos to be having that applied as well. So anyway, just quickly, Karen donated $20 and says, "Hi Phil, don't know when you'll be able to watch Get Back, but it shows John and Paul talking about how they treated George badly. Do you feel he was underappreciated? All things must pass, travelling, Wilburys, etc." So thank you for that. I don't really have too much time to answer this, but yeah, I think towards the end, there were so many divisions, and George, I think as an artist, not just a musician, but as an artist, was being influenced by so many other sounds that maybe the rest of the band weren't, that interested in or wanted to pursue. So he very much had his own angle, his own thing that he wanted to do. As for whether he was underappreciated, I don't know. Certainly, if John and Paul have said that they felt he was underappreciated, then you've got to take their word for it. It's not really something that I can say, but yeah, in that case it's an admission by them. But yeah, certainly I think after the Beatles, certainly with how his sound changed, all the things that he did, and his writing as well, there was a lot in there that I think with the Beatles he couldn't necessarily explore. So yeah, it all happened for a reason, and they had to go their separate ways. But thank you for that, Karen. And Chrissy's donated $7.99. Thank you for that. The message is, Phil, where do you think music is heading these days? I feel like we've had all the legends now. Yeah, I don't know. It's almost like music is now hitting a plateau just because of voices. Voices are all the same. They're all being tuned the same way. And, it might be the case that now that AI is being applied to all videos, that now all videos will start to look the same, because they're all put through AI to upscale them and make them look a particular way. So yeah, I don't know, but we'll see what we can do to try and stop it, or change the flow of things in the future. But just going to quickly grab the guitar. Jennifer has donated £21.30. So thank you for that over on PayPal. And the message is shouting out from Long Beach, California. We love Phil's music. So thank you for that. And right, I think we're up to date. Oh, that on. Zoom out. Guitar on. Right. Backing track. Oh, click on this.
Moving to a new home.
Advert. Right, let me mute that. Right, so this is grooving with 4 minor in G major jam track. This is from Darren's Music Studio. DARREN''S. So, well, sounds interesting. Let me skip. Oh, I just skipped the advert. And it's almost like there's a little essay on screen. I'm not going to read it. We'll play along, or we'll attempt to play along and see what happens. Right. Let me know what the levels are like. Whoa. You hear this? I was waiting for that change to happen. I'm still not up to speed with this. getting towards the end here. Oh, it's a kind of fade out ending. Right, well that was interesting because, yeah, I'm not sure whether, I mean, I kind of started getting a bit used to it at the end, but yeah, there's some interesting changes going on there. Right, that was Groovin' with 4 minor in G major, jam track in brackets, and this is from Darren's Music Studio, Darrens. So yeah, there we have it. Now, with hindsight, what I should have done is fade, like towards the end there, when I was starting to kind of fade in, you know, having... yeah, so what I could have been doing is fading in to give myself a little bit more opportunity to hear where it's going and where we're going to be going. But yeah, there we go. That's what it was. That's the fill jam. That's what it's all about. As I said earlier, anything can happen, and it definitely did. So thank you for that, Joe, for sending that my way. And thank you guys for hitting the thumbs up, ensuring that we have a fill jam for tonight. And I'm going to be here with another video tomorrow night, so look out for that one. We're going to be live streaming Tuesday night, of course, 11 PM Greenwich Mean Time. So if you could join me then, that would be very much appreciated. And I think we are up to date with everything. So thank you guys for tuning in. And yeah, I'll see you tomorrow night. All that's left for me to say is try to stay as safe and as sane as possible in this crazy world in which we live. Have a fantastic rest of your weekend, and I'll catch you guys at the next one. Rock!